have it?
Ten o'clock. Time for the Wednesday morning Alzheimer's Association Caregivers Group to start. From time to time there's expert speakers who come in, and these are local experts in the area. One such person was Leann. So I met Leann. I was sitting at this table right here, and Leann came in and gave a presentation on what her company does. And you know, she just came across as such a sincere and loving person, and also a very knowledgeable expert, someone who could help us place my dad when the time comes. Leann, I met you at the Alzheimer's Association Caregivers meeting.
Yes.
And you told the group what you do.
I did.
I had no idea that people do what you do, which is
to help them guide through the maze of trying to find some options when a person is at home, needs a lot of help, the caregiver cannot take care of them anymore, and they don't know which way to turn. They could come to someone like me and help them guide through all of your different options.
Placement. Facility placement. When should you place your loved one? You know, it's just the most loathed subject. Nobody wants to talk about that. And yet it is so vitally important. And again, there's a lot of different ways to look at this, because everybody's life counts. The person living with Alzheimer's life counts, and the caregiver's lives count. And everybody deserves to live with love and joy to the fullest measure. But it's important for the caregiver to also take care of him or herself. And you know, we get very focused on our loved one, but statistics, and I learned this in the group, 70% of caregivers die before their loved ones with Alzheimer's. Now, I didn't know that, okay? And so that really put a different perspective on how I was looking at my mom, who's my dad's primary caregiver. I'm suddenly thinking, Mom, you got to take care of yourself. You need to relieve stress. Far more likely that the family caregiver is going to pass away before the loved one living with Alzheimer's does. It's bittersweet. Of course, placing your loved one in a facility is bittersweet. There's many pros and cons, but if the caregiver's safety is at risk, if the loved one living with Alzheimer's safety is at risk, if you can no longer care for that person, if the caregiver can no longer provide a healthy, safe environment for his or her loved one who's living with Alzheimer's, then a facility is really in the best interest of everyone concerned. We all come to the group just dreading having to place our loved one.
Of course, it's the worst, and nobody wants to do it. I know that.
And then you learn from being in a group, from skilled professionals such as yourself. Start to find out, hey, wait a second, it's not just a one direction.
Right.
I need to survive this also.
100%.
I want to tell you, I've said this before, I want to say it on camera, you are a hero at the caregivers meeting, and I mean that. One lady in particular I have in mind, she was looking really ragged. She's you know, a senior, she's a slight person, and she wants to do the right thing, and she was feeling a tremendous amount of moral guilt towards placing her husband, but it was obvious that it was having a tremendous toll on her.
Yes.
And when she said, you know, we all said, she came in that Wednesday and she said, oh, I feel so much better. And we was like, Teresa, you look so much better. What happened? I just had a meeting with Leann.
Yeah, I know who you mean, and yeah, she has really, really been stressing over her circumstances, and I don't blame her. It's a tough one. So we met up, we did our best to try to come up with some ideas for her to meet in her budget, her criterias as far as where she wanted her husband to be at in relation to her. So we went out, looked at a few places. I think she felt a sense of relief, which is what I really feel. Whenever I have someone in my car, we go around, take a look at some places, and they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that there was this kind of an option. I feel so much better that when the time comes, I'm not really there right now. Some of them are not ready to make it happen yet, but they know that there's some choices, and it's a relief to them, and that's what makes my job worth what I do. I just love to be able to give them options. Prior to doing this, I was a financial advisor. When you're a financial advisor, it's huge, and I really didn't like it very much. And what you do is you're planning for someone's future 20 years out and hope that you did a good job so that they have enough money to do their retirement. Right now, with what I do now, I'm able to give somebody a solution right now, which is just, it's good for them, of course, and it's good for me. You know, I mean, that's human nature, is to try to do something that makes yourself feel good too. I'm to the point where every time I get someone in my car that I take around and take a look at, I'm in their world. I am totally part of their situation, and it's very emotional for me most of the time too. But I feel as though we can find some kind of an idea, some kind of a solution for everyone. So I do my best to try to come up with 3 or 4 places that'll fit the bill. Sometimes I can. Sometimes I only can come up with 1 or 2. And I have to be sure they have availability and that they, meet all the criteria that are necessary to do a good job. I do the background checks on them to be sure we're the state licensing department. I make sure that the places are doing an appropriate job and that they have a good reputation. And so my agreements with them state what if I bring them a client, that they will pay me a one-time referral fee. So therefore, the family doesn't have to be responsible for paying any part of my fee. We help them through their paperwork process. There's some doctor's reports that need to be done. Get everything in order, and then when they're ready, hopefully, then we help them with the whole process of trying to get from point A to point B and make the adjustment.
Is there anything that you want to add, sort of like that you feel is really important that we haven't discussed?
You need to surround yourself with people who are able to provide you information, provide you service. People want to do it. People want to help you. And you have to just open up yourself and say, okay, I'm willing to take on as much information as you want to share with me.
And in the caregiver group, they talk about having a plan so that when the unexpected happens, as it always does, that you're ready to deal with it.
Have a plan in place just in case. It sounds a little hokey, but it's what you need.
I like that. Plan in place
just in case. That's right.
I like that.
Information in your back pocket is so important to have, just in case you need it.